And talk to us a little bit now about the hammer throw. I mean, obviously, it's not going into the garage and picking up a hammer and throwing it. It's a little bit more complicated than that. So talk to us a little bit about it, a little bit about the training for it. Like, I mean, obviously, what do you do to train for it, and a little bit about the mechanics of it, if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't be surprised how many people have asked me if I throw a real hammer. Um, yeah. But so the hammer throw, it's basically, a lot of people know what shot put and discus is, especially here in
Right,
the US.
right,
That's what high school athletes throw. And that's why we have a little bit of a lag in development in the US, is because athletes aren't throwing hammer or javelin so much. They're not in high school.
right.
Now, I started to play around with it. I knew the basics when I was, in high school, because I was fortunate to have, a very successful coach. And when I really started to learn was at UCLA. That's when you learn the mechanics. The hammer is how I explain it to people. It's the one, it looks like a shot put with a wire and a handle. So that is the hammer. And the whole concept of it is that you are doing winds, and then you do 3 or 4 turns, as we say, the technical footwork, to which you then release it into the sector. Now, I wouldn't say I started really until my freshman year of college. And out of all the throwing events, out of all the track events, even I would go as far as to say it's one of the most technical. You're speaking in degrees, you're speaking in, radius, and how much ball speed, how much force into the ground you're putting into something. So
Right.
there's a lot of mechanics involved, which is why repetition and repetition goes so far. And you look at some of the best hammer throwers. The woman who won this year, I believe, has to be in her late 30s. The one who won. I mean,
Interesting.
yeah, and you just have experience, and you have repetition, and I mean, all you're doing is footwork and ingraining those mechanics into your body. And throwing is like, we're very strong athletes, but it's being able to apply strength with as much relaxation as possible, in a way.
Mhm.
If I go in and try and be strong, I'm gonna end up hurting my throwing. That's one of my biggest faults, is that it's a good thing I'm really, really strong, but in some ways it's bad because I let that overpower my technique. So it's kind of hard to give like a basic little a lesson just through chatting, but I just emphasize it's extremely technical event, and it's a lot more. I mean, a lot of times people just think I'm spinning around on one foot. I think it's hard for people just watching to comprehend, really, unless they've
Right.
actually tried, which I think sometimes makes it harder for people to watch because they don't truly understand what's going on. But yeah, I mean, I'll have to. I can give a demonstration sometime, or something.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, we'd love to have that. That's awesome. And forgive me for asking this question because I don't understand the events that well, but it seems to me from watching them that there's some similarity between the shot put and the hammer from the standpoint of technique. Would that be correct?
There's a lot more similarities between the shot put and the discus. Um,
Okay.
yeah, the general movement and mechanics is the same footwork. You're starting with your 2 feet, in the back of the ring, and you're going through the same kind of footwork. Now, where you hold the shot put versus then where you hold the discus, that's all very different. But
Okay.
hammer is completely different footwork from the two of those.
Okay.
Uh, Now in build, a lot of shot putters could probably be decent hammer throwers. But I would say it relatively stands alone when it comes to the technical side of it. So in learning shot put, I had done shot put for that's what was my specialty in high school. And that's what I had planned on being in the Olympics for. Um,
Mhm.
but then learning an entire new event on top of that was a whole nother task. And so I competed in 4 events all through college. at SEC championships, as many competitions as I could. So this actually, after graduating, was the first year I've only done one event, which is the hammer. So my Greek coach, he calls me a baby hammer thrower because I've really now only had, this will be my third year only focusing on the hammer. Because when you're balancing other events, there's a reason why people aren't doing multiple events in the Olympics. It's really hard when you get the higher and higher level you get. It's really hard. The more focus you have to have on technique and the more focus you have to have on that one specific movement. So that's why you
Mhm.
don't see a lot of people doing multiple events in the Olympics. So that's where I really think I need to be excelling. I have the strength, definitely, and I just need to be able to be getting just reps in.